I love this blue cardstock that comes in the cardstock add-on for the Gather kit, and I really love these beautiful fall pattern papers as well. But this color blue doesn't show up in these particular papers that I want to use on my layout. How do we introduce a new color to an existing color scheme that's fairly cohesive? Stay tuned to find out. In today's video, I'm working with the Gather kit from MercyTiaraKits.com. I have the main kit shown here and the embellishment kit shown here. And I'll also be adding a piece of cardstock from the cardstock kit as well. So because it's my first time using this kit, I'm going to start with familiarizing myself. I don't think I'm going to need the cut files, which I have pre-cut, and so I just put those aside. And I'm just going to have a look at the embellishments. Now, these frames that come in the embellishment add-on, they're gorgeous. They're from 49 and Market, and I definitely want to use one of them. And I decided to go with the solid frame that you mat a photo on top of. I'm having a look at these wood-based embellishments from Pink Fresh Studio, and they seem a little bit too fall themed. The puffy stickers are adorable and I love them. Those frames from Pink Fresh Studio. And now these puffy stickers from Thickers, I think I'm going to be able to use those on it. Now my title that I have picked out is a little bit too long for those black Thickers, but I'm just going to kind of keep in mind that there are 2 letter sticker sets in this kit if you get both of the embellishment add-on and the main kit. So I have some options. Now I'm having a look through the die cuts that come in this kit. And they are obviously very fall themed. They're from Echo Park. And I picked out a couple of them. I'm just going to put them in my little tray that I'm keeping my wood veneer. Those wood veneer also came in the kit, in the add-on. And these confetti pieces are gorgeous. I'm hoping to use these on the page, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to. They're from the main kit. And they are, every month there's an exclusive confetti mix that comes in the kit. This sticker sheet is so adorable. I love all the little critters. They're just so sweet. And I'm much more likely to put critters on fall pages than any other season for some reason. I just really dig the fall critters. So I'm really in the mood to combine, make some unusual combinations. And so at first I was thinking I'd like to combine that blue floral paper with that rusty color. It has pink hearts on it. Love that. And I think that I could make those 2 work. I'm very much loving putting together different looking things these days, kind of unexpected twists on my pages. And so I'm picking out these more traditional papers that match really easily with one another. And then I came across this blue that's in the cardstock add-on, and I decided that that would be the thing that would give this layout a little bit of an unexpected twist. This is where I keep my kit, in this tiered, rolly plastic organizer. I call it my kit caddy, and I love keeping all of my kit supplies just off to the side. They don't clutter up my desk, so that my desk is fully available for just scrapbooking. And as I need things, I just go over to my left and pull it out, and as I'm finished with it, I just put it right back. Now I'm going to start by using my Caterpillar crop here, and you can see through, because of the light, you can see exactly where you're going to cut. I'm cutting this paper down to 11.5 by 11.5. And then with this one, I'm just going to cut it down to 12 inches. I'm just basically cutting off the manufacturer's strip there. That blue is by Basil, and it's called Typhoon, and it's almost like a denim blue. I really love it. And then this paper is from the American Crafts Farmstead Harvest collection. It's called Fall Confetti Dark. And I'm using the B side of it, which is this really pretty green color. It's like a sage green with these pinwheels with gray dots in the centers of them. So pretty. Now, I forgot to distress my paper before I glued it down. So I'm just pulling a Sarah Wiles here, and I am using my fingernails to distress the edges of this paper. The distress tool that I often use is from Tonic, and it's a Tim Holtz branded one. And typically I would use that. You run it along the edge, and it just softens the paper fibers and makes the paper look nice and torn and distressed. I'm using my ruler here to tear off some paper. My initial plan was that this would be a vertical kind of a layout with lots of kind of embellishments or layers or paper or whatever going mostly up and down the page, but I ended up evolving as I go. Now, this frame from 49 and Market already is distressed, but it looks very manufactured. Like it's distressed, meaning it's not cut on a straight line, but it was very manufactured looking. So I just took that distress tool and just ran it along the edges just to make it really shabby looking for real. And now it looks like it is actually torn from pieces of newspaper or book paper or whatever. Now I'm having some regrets here where I wish I had gutted this paper, and because I didn't press really hard when I put these two pieces together, I could still rescue the middle part of this. The cardstock kit does come with two of each piece of paper, so I could have cut into a whole new piece, but one of the things that I want to do here is have the ability to bring some more of that same blue paper into the page, and I didn't want to cut into a new piece of paper. Because I hadn't planned on doing this, there's adhesive on the back, and I don't want this layout to just keep on getting stuck to my work surface. So I just used a powder tool to de-stick the adhesive on the back of it, and that does a pretty good job. Now I have a chunk of that paper, and I'm not going to need very much. I was thinking I might punch out some hearts or just anything that I can do to pull that same blue color into the layers of my page will be good enough to kind of make this frame around the outside edge of my layout not look so much like it doesn't fit, like just so different from everything else on the page. So as I was explaining that, you saw me set up my sewing machine. This is a half-size sewing machine. Unfortunately, I don't think you're able to buy this new anymore. So I do apologize for that. This is a sought-after sewing machine. It's really the only good quality half-size or smaller sewing machine that's out there. Most half-size or smaller sewing machines are really, really cheap and not very effective, and they're sort of geared more towards children, I think. Now, what I'm demonstrating here, I do film all of my process videos in a real-time version for my Patreon members. So what I'm explaining here is that every time I come to a corner, I'm ending so that the needle is inside of the paper, and then I just lift up the foot, flip the paper around, and that way you can turn a nice tight corner with pointy edges instead of having rounded edges around the corners of your layouts. Rounded edges look great too, it's just a different look. So sometimes I don't do this, but today I wanted nice pointy corners, and this is how I got them. Now here I did I accidentally jigged and jagged out on my sewing. So when I went over it the second time, I just made sure that I didn't do that there, just because I wanted it to look kind of wobbly. I like my second line of stitching to purposely go off of the first line so that it looks kind of messy and doodly. That's my favorite thing about stitching, is for it to look messy. Thank goodness, because I'm not very good at stitching straight lines. So I'm just going to trim that down. And again, so my presser foot pushed all of my little pulled up edges down. So now I have to roll them up again. We have a contest in Canada every year called Roll Up the Rim to Win with our coffee shop, Tim Hortons. And so whenever I'm rolling up my edges, I always think of the commercials where people try to roll their R's, which I can't do. So here we go. I have this piece of blue paper that I rescued from the inside, and I'm thinking hearts or stars or something. And then I thought tabs. Let's add some tabs. So I am going to cut a strip of this, and these tabs are dies from Ellie's Studio, and they coordinate with more than one of their sets of stamps. I love it when companies do that. I love it when you know, if they have a stamp and a matching die, it's not just a throwaway, like that's the only stamp set that goes with that die. They do a really good job of coming out with subsequent stamp sets that will use the same die. So you will see me go to my stamp set next. My stamp sets, which I keep in the Rascog off to my right and sort of behind me. So I'm going to leave those in my little tray there, and then I'm just going to try to find those stamp sets. Now I do have a database and I could easily search for them, but I also kind of know where they're at. They're all in my documenting section, which is just a section of my stamp sets that basically is like office and anything about just general documentation. So I found all 3 of the stamp sets that coordinate with my tabs. There's another tab die too. And there might even be 2 or 3 more die sets that go with these, with some of these different stamp sets. But I'm using these ones. I really like this classic tab shape, and so I almost always end up going for this one. I am picking this ink from Stampin' Up. It's called Misty Moonlight, and Stampin' Up inks are dye inks, and so I love them because I'm just so familiar. I've used them for so long, and I'm just so familiar with all of the colors that for me, it's really easy to reach for my Stampin' Up inks. But there are lots of different brands that make inks, and I just wanted something that was a tone-on-tone kind of a look, so I knew that that Misty Moonlight ink would be a pretty decent match, but not blend in so, like I wanted to be able to see it. So I just picked a phrase from the stamp, one of those stamp sets, and the one I chose was Field Notes. And I just thought that the field notes, it doesn't necessarily go with the story I'm telling, but I just thought it went with the idea that it looks like there's all these layers of newspaper and stuff behind my photo. So I thought that that went well with that. Now here are the embellishments that I want to use. So the way that I'm pulling the blue into the page is mostly through this tab, and then you'll see at the end I'm going to do something else. But for now, I'm actually feeling like perhaps just using the tab would be enough, and it certainly would be enough. And I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. But I'm going to combine these papers. Now, these papers work really, really well with one another, as you can see. The heart paper is from Simple Stories Acorn Lane. The paper itself is called Warm Hearts. And then the leaf paper is from American Crafts. Farmstead Harvest Colorful Leaves is the name of the paper. Now I have some more of these die cuts from the Echo Park die cut set that I was looking through at the very beginning, and I'm just tucking them in different places, but I'm going to change my mind on this design. My first thought is that it would be primarily vertical, and then I put these horizontal strips kind of behind it to anchor it. And I love this little critter holding the little acorn. And because it's a picture of my cat, I think that critters look especially cute. And then I thought I could tuck this in over here. And I just made it so that that little critter sticker covers up the phrase that didn't really, it's not really about fall. The photo was just taken yesterday, so it took place in the fall, but it's more about my cat. But my cat has very warm, she's Siamese, he's Siamese, and so he has very warm colors in him. And I thought that he looked really cute, all smushed into his sister's sleeping spot there. So here's where I'm deciding to change my mind about this whole design. I decided that I needed a bigger piece of that leaf pattern paper. I liked how it brightened up the page. It really brought that white background or cream colored background really brings a lot of brightness to the page, and it balances off with the darkness that the blue outline matting around the outside of the layout does. And then that rust colored pattern paper with the hearts, with the pink hearts, really anchors my photo onto that leaf patterned paper. So this design works really well. I'm going to glue things in place because what I'd like to do is add a bit of stitching right here where I was just gesturing. And I'm just adding some reference points with my pencil, which I actually forgot to go back and erase, but I don't think I can see them. grabbing my sewing machine again. This is, I keep my sewing machines pre-threaded. I am lucky enough to have one for black thread and a whole separate sewing machine for white thread, so I don't have to mess around with rethreading it in the middle of my process. So I'm using black thread because it provides some nice contrast for this page. If I were to use those black foam letter stickers, having the black stitching would really help with making those black letter stickers feel like they belong on the page. Now, I did some back and forth stitching just to anchor these strips of paper onto the page, and then I switched to a zigzag stitch. And these little half-size machines don't have all that many options for different kinds of stitches, but it does have various lengths of straight stitching and various widths of zigzag stitching. So I'm liking how this looks, but there are some things that are a little off kilter. So I just tore the edge off of that piece because it was looking a little bit too pointy, and also it looks a little bit like it's sloping down, right? So the other side was sloping up, so I had to tear that corner off, and this side was sloping down, so I just tore that corner down a little bit, and then it doesn't look so much like that. Now this little orange colored frame or mustard colored frame that I'm using that to anchor where the tab is, that blue tab. And my thought at this point that I started to talk about before, but my thought is that just using this one blue element, it really does look like a denim blue, right? It brings your eye right into the photo. And I like that it's unexpected. Typically, when we're designing things, we like to use three of something to create a visual triangle. And at this point, I'm thinking I kind of want to break that design rule and just have one single blue element besides the blue on the outside edges that just kind of draws your eye towards the photo. I don't have much journaling or any journaling really for this picture. It's just a picture of my cat sleeping in a funny way. He sleeps in his sister's bed, which is way too small for him. It fits Lila perfectly, but he is just too big. So his legs always stick out in all different weird directions when he does this. So I love that little tag with the little critter popping out of the acorn. So I'm going to use that. I just added a bit of twine to it. And now I'm balancing off the frame and the little cluster that I've got building by the tab. And I'm going to put another cluster down here in the bottom left-hand corner, and then another one on the top left-hand corner. That will be my visual triangle. So it'll go from the kind of center-ish of the right-hand side, bottom left-hand side, top left-hand side. I'm putting another tag here. I do like to repeat my elements. So the twine is repeated, the tag idea is repeated, and look, there's a tag in the cut files. So I don't even have to go to my silhouette to get this tag because I've pre-cut them when I first set up my, my kit. So I'm going to tuck that down there. Obviously it's too long, but I will trim it down so that it fits better. And the nice thing about the cut files is that I can just cut that tag again if I wanted to use it again on another project. So that's always nice. Picking out a couple of more embellishments here, I felt like I needed more of that vanilla color. So that round die cut with the flower on it will work well to bring a little bit more vanilla down here. And my first idea was that I would layer it with the tag, and then I decided instead, oh, I love this sticker. Look at how pretty it is. I'm pulling another Sarah Wiles here. I'm obsessed with her videos. I love to watch her work. So I've been watching a lot of her videos in the wee early hours of the morning. And one of the things that she does, she uses her hand. I think she uses her arm to de-stick her stickers, but I'm just using it to hold the sticker so I don't forget about it. And I just layered that sticker with the bottom part of the tag, knowing that I'd be putting the tag in here upside down like that. And I I just kind of layered it so that the sticker was over top of the frame pieces because I really liked those little dangly ribbons that are showing on the sides of the sticker. And now I'm going to put this little frame in. I'm not putting it centered with the tag. I'm just putting it shifted a little bit off over to the right so that there's a little bit more space on the right side than on the left side between the tag and the frame. And then this little critter guy, I'm going to pop him up. I'm popping him up on the 3mm foam tabs, so these are the taller of the two. And then he just needed a little bit more emphasis, but there wasn't enough room for outlining. So I'm just going to use my little finger dauber here and outline around, not outline, but ink the edges in, that was frayed burlap distress ink. And it just gives that embellishment a little bit more definition and contrast between it and the elements behind it. I did outline this tag here before I added the string to it, so that adds a little bit more definition to it. It can particularly get lost because it's cream and there's a cream background on that leaf pattern paper that it's layered on. So I definitely wanted to outline that. And since I outlined that tag, I outlined the other tag, the die cut, the cut file tag. And now I will outline this as well because it's also in that cream color and I don't want it to get lost on the background paper that it's layered over. And it can be tricky to outline a circular die cut, but just remember that a circle is just a whole bunch of curves that are connected. So just do a little curve and then turn it and do a little bit more of a curve and turn it and take your time and you'll get it. It's not as hard as it sounds like it is. Now I didn't want this blessings on the bottom of the fox, so I just used my trimmer to make sure that it was cut nice and straight and looked like it was manufactured that way. I'm going to ink the edges of this tag as well because, like the other one, there's just not enough room for outlining. And I'm making sure that I string my tags in the same direction so that they have the same kind of topping to them. So you can pull both of the pieces of string towards you, like from the back to the front and then loop it around, or you can go from the front to the back and then loop it around. I don't think either is right or wrong, but I just like to do it the same way on any given layout so that they all look the same. And I had originally done one of them wrong, so I just fixed one of them there when I inked the edges. Now remember this little piece that I picked out? We need to find a little home for it. And then I also had this other one that says fall, and so I thought that they kind of coordinated nicely with one another. So I put the one that says fall on this side, and I'm just using some Nouveau Crystal glaze. It is a hazard to do this before you're finished your layout, so I'm not sure that I recommend doing this. I'm only putting glaze on the bottoms of the little acorns. And so, yeah, I'm just going to put the Nouveau Crystal glaze there. It does take a while to dry, like maybe half an hour to an hour. It doesn't take like as long as stickles, but it does take a while. And I'm just hoping that I don't dip my finger in it. Any guesses on whether I do? Leave me a comment below that predicts whether you think I'm going to get through the entire layout without sticking my finger or hand in or something in that wet Nouveau Crystal glaze. Let me know below. So I want to put my title here, but if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I don't love titles that are layered over patterned paper. For some reason, other people can pull that off, and I just never feel like I can. So I'm going to not even try. And once I had a bit of a sense of what it was going to look like, I said, nope, I'm going to find something. And I'm sorry that I didn't zoom out, but I was looking for something to layer my title on. And I found on the foam thickers that come in the main, I think those come in the main kit. They might come in the add-on, but wherever they come from, they are from the Farmstead Harvest collection from American Crafts. And I thought that they would make, because there's 3 of them that coordinate nicely with one another. One of them has a similar pattern to the darker bluish pattern paper that's on the back of all of my layers. but it's a white version of that same pattern. So it really coordinates nicely with this page. It introduces that lighter blue color as well. On the top of those banners has like a lighter bluey greeny color. It picks up on the green on the background paper as well. So there's lots of repetition here. There's gold, there's brown, there's that bluey color, and the greeny color from the background as well. I'm going to unravel the edges so that these look like they've been there for a while. And then I'm going to put my title. Now my title is if it fits, I sits, which is, is it from a meme? I don't know. I don't know where I heard that, but it's a common little caption that you see with cats who are inside of boxes and little tiny things that you didn't think they would fit in, but they somehow fit. So, there we go. I just put my finger in the Nouveau Crystal glaze. Now I'm getting a baby wipe to wipe it all up, and I'm just going to leave it and I'll fix it later because you never know how that stuff is going to dry. It has, forgive me because I'm not good with chemistry, but it has a composition that self-levels, and so it is still wet, and even though I just dipped my finger in it, it's a little bit bumpy because of that. It might even out as it dries, so I'm just going to give it some time to even out. So there's my title using those gorgeous Pink Fresh Studio letter stickers. Those are actually from a spring collection, but look at how beautiful they look on a fall collection. So I did decide to add a little bit of extra of that Nouveau Crystal glaze, and some of it went out, and what I'm doing is I'm literally just pushing it back inside of the lines with my fingernail, and that will make it nice and domed, or relatively domed. Yeah, it's a little domed. I'm looking at it right now, and it is. I'm adding some of that to the fox's scarf as well. So now the Nouveau Crystal glaze is in 3 different places. So that adds that different texture in the 3 different places. We have a nice visual triangle going on. I thought about using these sprinkles, but the background patterned paper, I also thought about using that, but nope. That pattern paper with the leaves on it, it has a bit of a confetti look to it. And so I don't like using confetti mixes on pattern papers that are also confetti-ish. It just seems like a little bit much. So I'm going to leave it without the confetti pieces. And then I thought I was done, but I just thought that this looked so perfect. I love it. It says "Get Cozy," and it's the exact match to the background pattern paper, right? That green with the blue, with the gray dots in it. And then I thought, well, then once I added that, I felt like I needed to add something else. Now here's that denim color. It's also from those foam stickers. And now I've got 2. So now I guess I need 3. So here's how it goes. You add one thing and it becomes 2 things and 3 things. And this is how layouts go, don't they? So I ran out of the that classic shape of a tab. Sorry, I'm losing my words here. Yeah, so I had pre-cut one of these, so I'm using that one. I'm using the same color of ink, which is Misty Moonlight. That's the ink. And then I'm going to put those hearts on in black, just like I did with the other one. So Misty Moonlight for the shape of the tab, and then black for what goes inside of the tab. And that's another Ellie Studio stamp set. I don't know the name of it, but it's one of the Ellie Studio ones that coordinates with the tabs. Now I just trimmed it down so you're only seeing a little bit of it, but I think it looks really cute. You can see that it's mostly ink, but you can see just the little edging of the bare cardstock, and it looks really, really cute. You can also see some of the bare cardstock kind of shining through where the ink didn't stamp entirely down, and I really like that look too. It looks kind of distressed. So here's the close-up. The Nouveau Crystal glaze hasn't dried yet, but other than that, this is how this one looks. This embellishment cluster at the top only had 2 items until I added the bunny. So I'm really glad that I added the bunny. It just it makes that cluster a little bit more substantial, and it holds its own against the other 2 clusters, both of which have a lot more going on, right? I have more to say about the clusters, but first, before I share the photos, just a quick shout out to my Patreon supporters. These folks help make this channel happen, so big thanks to them. Patrons get early ad-free access to all my process videos and real-time unedited versions of my videos and more. Now, I really love how the added 3 blue elements that I added in just to pull this page together and make it look a little bit less like there's some random blue background on the matting. I really love how these 3 blue elements pull the page together, and hang on and you'll see it. See how the 3 blue elements really focus your attention on the photo, and especially where there isn't any journaling on this page, the photo really is the main thing here. So I think that adding a color, a disparate color to your layout might not be as hard as you think it is. Just save little bits of that color to bring into your layer, and you really don't need that many to make it look like it works. I think even just making using one of them would have been fine in this case, but the 3 really does focus on the photo. So thanks so much for watching, and have a really great scrappy week. If you're looking for more from me, check out any of these videos here and subscribe so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Take care.